It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games. Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
Welcome in. It is a brand new edition of the Saturday Show here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Alex Napoles. No Christian Esparza again today, but filling in for him is one of our producers here on the zone. Parker Long joined me again this week. Parker, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just like last week, I'm super stoked to be here. It's another beautiful day outside. A little rainy, but I mean, after the winter we had, won't we take that?
Absolutely. A little rainy, a little windy, but still here. Enjoying some of the rain, enjoying some of this weather, and getting ready for what finally feels like an official spring. And hopefully we get some more moisture. Want to send a big congratulations to, as we start the show, to our guy Christian Esparza, who welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world last week. Still on a baby sabbatical, which is why Parker is hanging out again this week. So big shout out to our guy Christian Esparza.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Christian and his wife. They are... Christian's a wonderful guy, and I cannot wait to welcome him back to the station and give him a big hug and big congratulations for welcoming his first baby boy into the world.
Absolutely. So big shout out to the Esparzas and his family, and so let's jump in and let's dive in. And the big story, the big topic that everybody's talking about right now in the state of Utah is, of course, the Utah Mammoth in year number 2, clinching the playoffs for the first time as the Utah Mammoth with that win over the Nashville Predators on Thursday night, as well as a Sharks loss, the Anaheim Ducks who beat the Sharks. That was enough to get the Mammoth a playoff spot in the Western Conference for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And so for the first time ever, the Utah Mammoth will be playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I
mean, what a time. So I got to tell you, so I was producing that game, or I was here for it. I don't know. Every day sort of blurs together a little bit. But I was here for it, and you could feel like everybody kind of knew as the game went on, like, This is it. This is where we clinch. And then the Anaheim and San Jose game was going on at the same time. It started an hour later. So it wasn't finished until we got into post-game, but the way that was tilting, you could kind of tell that, it was kind of a formality for it to go all 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And really, like, everything was coming up Mammoth for our boys over at the Delta Center. It was awesome, and it feels really great to be here and, like, to see such, maybe not instant, but, like, such quick success, and know that, like, what the Smiths and what Bear and what, the Mammoth organization is building is working.
It's almost fitting too, and it's almost poetic in a way, where the Utah Mammoth are, you look back at 2 years ago, and I saw our guy Scotty G quote tweet Frank Saravalli's tweet from 2 years ago, talking about the potential of this franchise being moved to Salt Lake City, of the franchise of the NHL coming to Salt Lake City, Utah. And so almost to the date, right, of the 2-year mark of, hey, this is a possibility, this is going to happen. 2 years later now, the fans here, the Mammoth fans, the fans of the state of Utah, who are now jumping in and catching the hockey bug and jumping in and watching this team find some success here in the state of Utah and start to build this franchise. Just 2 years later, right, almost to the day of when all this was going down, you get the official clinch. You get the official clinch and your opportunity now to go prove yourself in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And I think it sets them up for a hopefully a good stretch to come, where it's not, okay, this isn't a flash in the pan. This is what you hope. This isn't a flash in the pan. This is, okay, we have built playoff hockey. Like, this is a proof of concept. We've built a playoff team, and we know how to keep that going for years to come. You know, maybe they aren't in it every single year, and maybe aren't contending for a Stanley Cup every single year. But as long as you're in the mix more often than not, you're going to keep people happy, and you're going to keep them engaged, and like they will want to be part of something so historic within the league.
Absolutely. And I think obviously that's the plan going forward, right? You have such a young core with guys like Dylan Guenther, with guys like Logan Cooley, with guys like Clayton Keller. There's a big young core that they already have. Plus, you hear all the time about guys like Tiji Ginla and everybody else that's coming up through the system for this Utah Mammoth side that of prospects that can come in and elevate this team down the line, players who have really, really high potential. So there's absolutely, I think as a Mammoth fan, you're looking at this and you look at one of the things that stood out to me this week too was what Bear's been able to do year after year of building, getting more points and building off the success he had last season, right? Getting more points as the years goes on, and now he finally clinches. And so if that trend continues, plus you bring in all these guys that are coming up through the farm system, through the minors or whatever, and then you bring them up and continue to build off of that with that young core that you already have in place. Like, I think this Mammoth team, because of the work and the foundation that was laid down by Bill Armstrong, and drafting right in the NHL draft, like there's hope, and it looks like this Mammoth can be successful for a really long time. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would also like to touch on another thing that Bear has talked about, and he talked about it in the post game after the clinching game the other day. The depth. Yeah. The depth of the team is excellent, and like you can have, and you look at this in any professional sport, you can have a couple of people at the top who are, maybe some of the best on the planet. That's only going to get you so far. You need, because they're in hockey, they're not going to be on the ice all the time. Like, that's impossible. That's not happening. So, you have your guys you have your stars like Dylan Guenther, you have your stars like Logan Cooley, and you have your star setup guy in Clayton Keller, just a fantastic captain all around, setting his guys up for success. You got guys at the top, and then the potential guys in the farm system like Tiji Ginla, Mike Rabel. I think that's how you pronounce his name, the goalkeeper. Oh yeah, that just signed his entry level contract.
That's right.
So a lot to be excited about there. But the depth that is on this team, I mean, you look at guys like Michael Carcone, you look at Sean Dursey, you look at DeSimone, you look at Brandon Tanev.
I'll tell you what, man, Nick Schmaltz has had an impressive season. I didn't think coming into the season he was going to be as important and as contributing as much as he is, but he's been one of the standouts, if not the standout of the guys that have kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
Of how well he's been this year.
Yeah, and I want to shout out one of my favorite players, Kyler Yamamoto.
Yeah,
he's another one of those guys.
He gotta go.
You gotta have guys that go in and do the dirty work, and laying down the hits. Being selfless in the passing game, being in front of the net, even if they're not technically a defenseman. Being everywhere on the ice and playing for the team. And I think this team is constructed in a way that the culture is really about each other.
Yeah.
The culture is about the team. It is not, no one is greater than the team. And I think that reflects all the way down from your top end stars to, the guys that only play, are healthy scratches a bunch, but know that they're going to get in the lineup and work hard every day to be part of that and to be part of something greater.
The depth has been fantastic. And right now it looks like this Mammoth team is firing on all cylinders at the perfect time. Down here in the stretch run, you're on a 5-game winning streak. You obviously clinch with that 4-1 win against the Nashville Predators. Kyler Yamamoto gets a goal in that one. Nick Schmaltz scores on the power play. Lawson Krause adds a third, and then Dylan Guenther adds a late fourth one, or about midway through the third period in that one, and then the Mammoth up 4-0, and you feel pretty confident that they're going to clinch. They get the job done, and then obviously, I think early in the third period, Anaheim goes up 4-0, and you feel pretty good about the Mammoth chances at that point. They clinch. They get their first ever postseason berth as the Utah Mammoth, and now it's a race for Wild Card 1, man. I think it's super important. We've talked about it a little bit before here on the Saturday show. I think it's super important that you're able to maintain your positioning as far as wild card one goes, because I think you would much rather see Edmonton, the Knights, the Ducks, or whoever wins the Pacific, rather than having to face Colorado.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go through Colorado ever at all. They just won the President's Trophy for the most points in the NHL.
Yes.
That's like, just by the numbers, it doesn't require a whole lot of deep hockey analysis. You don't want to go up against the team that's won the most games. Just quite frankly, you would rather have a slightly easier path to, you're going to have to go through them eventually. But if you don't have to face them in the first round, maybe they get knocked off somewhere in there and you don't have to deal with them. You would much rather have one of these teams from the Pacific Division, as we covered last week, is a by the numbers weaker division. Yeah. Now, Edmonton, outside of the last game that the Mammoth played against them, have kind of been a bugaboo for the Mammoth. We've shown that that's not, going to always be the case. They did pick up a win. The Mammoth did over Edmonton. I would prefer to have Vegas or Anaheim than I would Edmonton, but I'm feeling a lot more comfortable if I'm in that wild card one spot and I'm playing a team for the Pacific Division and I'm avoiding Colorado altogether.
I saw a really funny tweet earlier this week, and I wish I could remember who posted it so I can give him the proper credit for it. But there was this really, really funny tweet where, because the Anaheim Ducks were on a 5-game losing streak earlier this week. They broke that with that win against the San Jose Sharks on Thursday night. But they were on a 5-game losing streak. They were leading the Pacific. I think everybody around, every Mammoth fan was like, we want the Ducks. We'll take the Ducks. Every Mammoth fan was like, give us the Ducks. And then then the Ducks go on a 5-game losing streak. The Edmonton Oilers end up at the top of the Pacific. And the tweet basically said, I think the Ducks are throwing are purposely losing so they can avoid the Mammoth. I just can't prove it. And it seemed that way for a little bit, because the Ducks and the Mammoth, I think, would be a great series. I think the Mammoth would be favored that one. I think the Mammoth would potentially win that series. You could go on a run here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But as things stand right now, Edmonton stand at the top of the Pacific Division with 90 points. The Knights in second with 89, and then the Ducks tied in third with 89.
There is a world where the Ducks do eclipse the Oilers, and we get that matchup we want. I don't know what the likelihood of that is. It seemingly, based on how the Ducks have played recently, maybe not great. But I think if you're the Mammoth, what your focus is on, and Bear has talked about this. Bear has talked about a lot of stuff because he's been asked a ton about looking towards the playoffs, and he's making sure his guys are focused on the next game, because that's what you need to be focused on. You need to be focused on, what is our next game? What's the next possible 2 points that we can get? Because you're not there. You're not locked into
that is true.
The first wild card. You want that first wild card. You want to, as the cliche saying goes, control your own destiny. You want that control. You don't want to slip to the 2 spot because you were, being lazy, because you thought, oh, okay, well, we'll be fine. There are no easy games in the NHL. You cannot take anything for granted. Lock up that wild card 1 spot. Lock that up. Give yourself the best chance to advance, and really show the NHL why this was the right move, why you are the right franchise to be here and to be successful and be doing what you're doing for a long time to come, and basically put people on notice that, hey, we are the real deal.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And to your point, you're absolutely right. There are still 4 games left to go in this season for the Mammoth. They play tonight at home against the Carolina Hurricanes, who are Stanley Cup contenders. They're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and so I think you have a massive test coming into Delta Center tonight. Then you go on. You have a back-to-back. You'll be in Calgary tomorrow night. You play 2 games this upcoming week with the Winnipeg Jets coming to Delta Center, and then you finish off the season against the St. Louis Blues across the street at Delta Center. So there's still a lot of hockey left to be played. Andre Turney recognizes that. The head coach of the Utah Mammoth, Andre Turney, recognizes that. And he came on with JJ and Alex yesterday, where he talked a lot about the mentality, about making sure that these guys stay locked in for the final couple games, but also at the same time taking a moment to celebrate and recognize that this team has earned their position of being in a playoff berth. And so we'll listen to Andre Turney and his comments with JJ and Sly yesterday. Here's Andre Turney, the head coach of the Utah Mammoth.
Coach, congratulations on this achievement. I know there's a lot to come and a lot you still want to accomplish, but that had to feel special last night, finally making this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels really good for everybody. You know what I mean? It's you're in the trenches, you're battling, you're fighting for it, but you make a step back and you realize that impact a lot of people. The impact our family, impact the people everywhere in our office. CG, our ownership, our coaches, our player, our staff, our trainer, everybody worked really hard or cheer the team for a long time for that to happen. So to push the cart across the finish line feels really good.
You know, Coach, we're pretty spoiled here in Utah because we've been able to enjoy the fruits of your labor that you guys started back in Arizona. And we're like, wow, is this how it is all the time? You always make the Stanley Cup playoffs? But I know this was a long and arduous process for you and a lot of the staff and a lot of players on this team. That had to make last night even more rewarding because this has been something that's taken a lot to accomplish.
Yeah, they're like one of our players told me yesterday, and I really like that. He said there were a lot of deep water in that process, and we've been through that deep water together, and we fought it through together, and really proud of them, really proud of all our players, really proud of our organization to become a destination, to have guys waiving their no trade clause to play for us, the guys signing as a free agent to play for us. There are guys signing long term with us. There's our fans are showing up every night. There's our organization who has brought a lot of energy every day. Our ownership will build us an unbelievable practice facility, will give us all the tools to succeed. So there's a lot into it. Our management who made our team better every year, starting with Bill, but all the pro scout and then the advanced stat department, the high performance, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of people, a whole state push in the same direction to make that thing happen. So it's really rewarding to achieve that all together.
Yeah, man, you talk about everybody involved. There's a lot of firsts for everybody in this scenario, especially your team. There's a lot of guys who's first in this situation. Even the last 4 games of the season, you know, we can't, just disappear that just because we clinched. But how do you handle? How do you coach? How do you go into, talking to these guys about this moment, right? First from even some of the coaching staff, first from the players, how they go and handle this moment, of the intensity of going into the playoffs.
Well, first of all, when you expect something, do you talk about it a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the sense of we were expecting it. We worked for it. We believed in ourselves. But that's the first thing we said at the training camp. I said, every year you start a season, you're excited. You're excited, and you think you can. This year we were excited, but we were confident. We were not hoping. We were not saying we hope to play meaningful game or whatever. We were confident. We were kind of, what you talking about? We got this. We believe in ourselves. So now it's happening. We're not kind of hey, let's talk about it. No, we expect it for the last year. We expect it for the last 78 games. So it's not like it happened and we didn't see it coming. Right. We were expecting that. We were confident. We're happy, but we're not satisfied. The goal is not just, I assume we make the playoff, they put an X on we stop. No, we don't stop. We want to keep building playoff habits. We want to be a better team in 4 games than what we are right now. We want to arrive in the playoff and keep grinding our way. So we don't want to stop there.
This 5-game streak has been incredible. A lot of goals. You beat 2 of the best teams in the league in back-to-back games. What's clicking right now during this streak? What is, from your observation, we're watching the games and we're enjoying it, but you understand everything that's going into this technically, changes that are made, adjustments that are made. What has been done to allow this team to take things to another level over these last 5 games?
Well, it's just one more step. It's like you tell me, okay, on that marathon, what happened in the last kilometer? Who made you win? Well, it's the first 41. We did a good job. So we arrive in I'm talking in the last sprint. Mm-hmm. You just keep going what you build for the last whatever number of miles. So it's just a continuity. So we kept doing the same thing, just a little bit better. You don't change what you do. You do the same thing, but you do it just a little bit better. We're a little bit quicker in our execution, a little bit quicker at closing on the puck carrier. We create a little bit more turnover. We manage the puck a little bit better. We have a little bit more net presence. Our D are a little bit better at putting pucks at the net and finding lanes and so on and so forth. We're just a little bit better at everything, and we expect in 4 games to be even a little bit better at all those little things.
Man, I love that. Earlier you mentioned the crowd, and packing this home arena. I was at the game last night and I was excited. It was absolutely electric. Oh, yeah. Can you talk about how important it is and to have that crowd and how important it's going to be for this crowd to be there come playoffs?
I think you need to realize how fortunate you are. When you have a day was tougher at work and where you need to grind it a little bit more and you need to find that little juice, you have a packed building who's cheering you up and will push for you and give you that love, that emotion, that passion, that cheer you need. It just gets you over the edge, and you can see how passionate our fans are and how much they care about the team and how much it means for them. So I just give us the little extra you need when push comes to shove.
Coach, I know that one game is one of 82, and you have to treat them all the same, and I totally understand that. But it felt different on Tuesday night against Edmonton from our perspective as media, from the fans. Maybe it wasn't the case for you guys, but how important was that game in particular to get that win over that team in front of your fans?
That was huge. For whatever reason, we did not play the way we wanted against them in the last year or the last 2 years, I could say. And that was one of the reasons. The other reason is where we were in the standing and the team behind us were pushing as well. And you want to keep rolling as a team. We won our 2 games on the road, but now we're coming back in front of our fans, and we have had some difficulty in the previous 3-4 games at home. So we wanted to have a great game, and I think our guys were really focused, and it did not start the way we wanted, not in terms of performance, but we were playing well, but they took the lead 3-1, and our guys stayed focused, and they stayed composed, and they were capable of coming back in the game. So that was huge for us. That was a really good statement for us.
You got the playoff spot clinched, but there's still work to do. You want that wild card number 1 spot, so that still needs to be clinched. And as you mentioned, you want that momentum going into the playoffs. How locked in are these guys right now to accomplish that and stay focused on these last 4 games and not get too caught up in the joy of what happened last night?
That was unbelievable this morning. We got in the video room for our meetings, and that was just another day. And I'm not saying that in the sense it was another boring day. That was the same smile, the same atmosphere, the same sharpness in answering the question. We asked a few things about our game and what we can do better and how we can do better and what's the key points in certain area in our game. And the guys were sharp. They were on task. They were not carried away by the moment. They were just, hey, we're ready for the next day. Where we have a theme here where it's continued improvement. Every day we show up, our objective is to be better. no matter what's the day, when we show up together, we have one objective, and how can we get better today? And today, the guys didn't have a different attitude. They didn't have the attitude of anything looking like satisfied or whatever. They were, okay, how can we get better today? And they had their perfect mindset. That was great.
Well, you've got a chance to play a Stanley Cup championship contender on Saturday, hosting the Carolina Hurricanes, who are having a tremendous year. Yeah. How excited are you to see where your guys measure up against one of the best in the East?
Yeah, I think it's well said. I think it's exactly the way we feel. I think it's a team who they apply a lot of pressure. They're on you all the time. They don't let you breathe and stuff like that. So I think it's a perfect moment for us. We want to measure stick. At this point, we just won 2 games at home. We have a chance to go ahead and win another one at home against an elite opponent who play a style who can suffocate you. I'm excited about it. I think that's good timing for us. I like where our guys are mentally and where we're looking forward for tomorrow afternoon.
Nice.
That's going to be a great matchup tomorrow, 3 o'clock at the Delta Center against the Carolina Hurricanes. Coach, congratulations. I know there's so much work to do left, but what a great accomplishment for you and your staff and these players. And you've made this community proud, and everyone's so excited about this. So congratulations on all of it. And, I think the next time we talk to you, we're going to be breaking down a first-round playoff matchup in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I really look forward to that.
Yeah, I agree. That feels pretty good. I like the sound of it.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
There you go. That is the Utah Mammoth head coach, Andre Tourigny, with JJ and Sly yesterday on the show for his weekly check-in. And I think the thing that really stood out to me, Parker, about that interview was that comment he made about the guys coming in for film review yesterday morning and coming in with that mindset of, we've clinched, but we're hungry. We've clinched, but there's work to be done, and they recognize there's still 4 games left. They recognize how important a wild card 1 spot would be for that team, and so you'd love to hear that from the coach, and you also love to hear his excitement about clinching the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a coach, the one thing you want before anything, like before you have like the most skilled player in the world, is you want them to be engaged, no matter what. And that's what this team is. They are engaged. They are committed. They are ready to go. They are not being lackadaisical. They are not being overly confident. They're a little confident, and I think they have every right to be. They believe in themselves, but they're locked in. They're engaged, and they are ready to go. And like that's exactly what you want to see, and that's the type of team that can succeed.
Absolutely. And one of those players on that team, Logan Cooley, joined the station yesterday and talked a little bit about clinching, talked a little bit about that situation. And so we'll hear from Logan Cooley coming up next. We'll take a break. Again, Logan Cooley, the Utah Mammoth player, joined Scotty and friends yesterday. We'll replay that on the other side, and you'll hear from the player's perspective about the Mammoth clinching their first ever playoff berth as the Utah Mammoth. That's coming up next on the Saturday show. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a break. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If you already have a donor-advised fund, you know the drill. Minimum grants, management fees, clunky interfaces that make you feel like you're filing paperwork instead of doing good. GoFundMe Giving Funds is built differently. Zero AUM fees, no minimum grant requirements, contribute cash, appreciated stock, or ETFs. Get the immediate tax deduction receipt, avoid capital gains, and grant on your own timeline. No one's telling you when or how much. Your fund is invested and growing until you're ready to give. And when you are, you can grant to your favorite nonprofits. Already have a donor-advised fund? Transfer it over. We'll cover the Daft Pay transfer fees. And here's what's unique. GoFundMe Giving Funds lets you grant directly to GoFundMe.org, getting cash to people in crisis fast. Backed by the #1 giving platform, investments held securely through Vanguard. Start your giving fund today at GoFundMe.com/giving. That's GoFundMe.com/giving. GoFundMe.com/giving. Tax benefits depend on individual circumstances. Consult your tax advisor.
Happy Saturday and welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles, Parker Long, taking you through the week in sports, and we'll continue talking about the Utah Mammoth clinching their first postseason berth with the win over the Nashville Predators and that loss for the San Jose Sharks over the Anaheim Ducks. And we'll continue this. We'll continue talking about, and we'll hear from Logan Cooley coming up here, his conversation that he had with Scotty G and friends yesterday. But first, this Utah Mammoth team on the verge too of making some NHL history, Parker. If there's 4 games left, right? If the Mammoth can finish the season and not go to the shootout, they have not been to a shootout all year. They'll be the first team to do it since I believe it was 2006.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's, my understanding of how coaches feel about the shootout is they don't love it. They don't love a game coming down to what they call a skills competition, which understandable. Shootout's very fun for the audience. It's really cool to see just like a one-on-one hockey like matchup. I understand where the coaches are coming from though, and the Mammoth not having to go to a shootout it's pretty cool. Like it's a good testament to the way that they've been able to finish some of those games. Now there are some losses you would maybe want to have gone to shootouts, but we try not to dwell on those too much because of where we are. So
absolutely not. Focus on the 10 wins that you have in overtime, and then the other 6. Well, you move on.
Yeah, we'll take the history.
Absolutely. Let's listen to Logan Cooley. He joined Scotty G and friends yesterday to talk about the Mammoth clinching their first ever postseason berth after that win against Nashville. So here's Logan Cooley from the Utah Mammoth.
So I want you to set the scene for me. Last night, you guys get the victory. You come off the ice. Is everybody in that locker room watching that Anaheim game go final?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit. You obviously want to get that playoff spot clinched, and we did our part, and we were hoping Anaheim was going to do theirs, and fortunate enough they did, and we're just so excited to be in this position, and the buzz around the city is so exciting, and we're looking forward to getting that started.
So 2 years ago is about the time things really started to break, that this organization was going to move from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. And now 2 years later, you're in the playoffs. Just what does that feeling feel like for you as a player, knowing that you're going to be playing postseason hockey?
It's awesome. I mean, I think, as a little kid, you dream about eventually one day winning the Stanley Cup, and just the experience we're going to gain from being in the playoffs. There's some guys that on our team, I'm one of them, that haven't even experienced playoff hockey, and you watch on TV just the excitement in the buildings, how intense the hockey is. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be unbelievable, and I'm sure the fans are going to have the Delta Center rocking, and we can't honestly wait to get started. There's still 4 more games left, but we got to make sure we're taking care of business. But once, the playoffs start, it's going to be the most fun hockey that, I think I'm going to be a part of.
No doubt. What was the atmosphere like, not just last night, but back up a couple nights with that overtime victory against Edmonton and kind of getting that, that weight off your shoulders of finally getting that win against Edmonton? The atmosphere has always been great in Delta Center, but these last 2 games have gone to a different level.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I agree. I think this is the loudest it's ever been. And, we played 2 extremely important games these last 2 games, especially against Edmonton, a team that, we could be playing in the first round. And, they've kind of had our number. It's great to, get that confidence that we could beat them. And, the huge overtime goal by Keller there, and it gave us the confidence that we could beat anyone in the league. And like I said, it's a team that we could be playing early on, and we want to make sure that we're kind of setting the tone early here.
Logan Cooley, kind enough to join us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Not just you, but 4 of your other teammates are on a 6-game point streak. What has really got this offense humming the way that it's been over this last stretch?
I think just honestly, we're playing with confidence. We have a lot of great players on our team that make a lot of good plays, and sometimes the puck doesn't go in, sometimes it does, and I feel like right now it's going in. We're playing the game the right way. And this is a great time to kind of be heating up too, going into playoffs. You want to feel good. Body feels good. I think we're all just rolling right now. We're having fun doing it too, and I think it just, we're all excited to be in this position of getting the chance to play playoff hockey. And like I said, we have a lot of great players on our team that are producing well, and at this time of the year, you need your top players to be your best players, and I think we have a lot of great top players right now producing.
So you mentioned the body feels right. You missed that time back in December and January due to injury. What were you able to do during that time to try to keep your mind at ease and still try to stay mentally present with this team, even though you couldn't be out on the ice, so that when you did get the green light from the trainers that you could hit the ice running and be back to where you need to be?
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't easy. I mean, I think, it was my first time missing that amount of time with an injury, and mentally it drained you a little bit, but I think in the back of your mind you got to remember that you're going to come back, and my goal was to eventually come back and have our team in the position to be in the playoffs. And I missed around 28 games, so this is unbelievable for me to be continuing to play postseason hockey with missing that amount of games. And the team did a great job too of winning games and doing their part too. And I did a lot of therapy work, a lot of workouts. Then when I had the chance to get back on the ice, felt good, and took me a little bit to come back. I didn't feel like my game was the best for a little bit there, but as of late, it's been great.
Logan Cooley, kind enough to join us, 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone. This power play group for the Mammoth has just been lights out over this last stretch. You were introduced into that lineup back in late March. What has allowed this group to be so successful? Because it seems like right now, when you have that advantage, this team's playing with a ton of confidence that they're going to find a way to find the back of the net.
I mean, I think, we're moving the puck really well. I think we're moving as a unit of 5. I think, honestly, we're establishing a shot-first mentality, too. I think when we're establishing the shot first, more things start to open up. And, I think we're playing with confidence, too. Confidence is such a big thing. And, when we have the confidence to make those plays, that's where we're going to get our looks. And, again, I think, as the power play is heating up, this is the time of the year where you need it to be good.
Well, and also, too, there were moments last night. You guys got off to the great start, and then a little bit of a lull in the second period, but then Veggie steps up, and he becomes a stonewall and knocks out some really great opportunities that it appeared that Nashville had. It seems like everybody, if somebody's coming back down to earth a little bit, somebody's there to pick up the slack. This really seems like there's a lot of cohesion going on with this team, a lot of synergy out there on the ice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Veggie's been great for us all year. He's such a, great guy to have in the back of the net there. And, it allows us to kind of play our game and know that, if we do have a turnover or, he's got our back. And, but like you said, I think we have a lot of guys who step up when, maybe some guys aren't having their best night. And we're just such a deep team with so many great players that, could have great performances and guys that step up no matter what the circumstance, and guys just buying into their roles too. And especially this time of year, when things get tighter, not a lot of room out there, guys are doing things the right way, and that's giving us success.
You're still a relatively young guy. Do you still pinch yourself like, I can't believe I'm doing this at this level? I mean, I can't imagine what that feels like.
A little bit. I think, it's only my third year, and this has been a dream of mine since I was probably 4 years old. And I think every once in a while when you're playing the top-end guys like McDavid, Crosby, those are the moments where, it kind of doesn't feel real. But at the same time, you got to make sure you're not getting too carried away. And, at the end of the day, it's your job to go out there and perform. And every once in a while, it's nice to kind of take a step back and realize, you're living out your dream, and that's something that is special to me, and super fortunate to be in this position.
You did clinch the playoff spot, but there's still 4 games left to go in the regular season. How do you make sure that you guys keep your mind right and not just relax a little bit, realizing that you're in the playoffs, but make sure you carry this momentum into postseason play?
For sure. I mean, that's something we talked about today. I think it's important, you want to feel good going into the postseason too. It's great that, we're clinched and we're in, but you don't want to go in dropping these last 4 games and then you start to not have confidence and it could turn ugly. So I think, for us, it's about maintaining what we've been doing. Obviously, there's still things to clean up, but, this is a group that always, perseveres and does the right thing. So I'm not worried about that, but at the end of the day, we got to make sure, we continue to do our part here.
Well, Logan, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the playoff spot. Congratulations on the season and getting healthy, and look forward to doing this again here soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You got it.
There he is, the center for the Utah Mammoth, Logan Cooley, joining Scotty G yesterday on the program to talk about the Utah Mammoth clinching that playoff berth, and he gave a lot of really good insight of him battling back from his injury. And we didn't really touch on it much, Parker, but I think his role in that overtime win against the Edmonton Oilers was massive, including, he gets tripped up. The Utah Mammoth go to the power play, and then immediately Clayton Keller scores that overtime winner in such a massive win for the Mammoth over the Oilers earlier this week.
Drawing penalties is, I think, maybe a little not undervalued, but is not. It doesn't really come on the stat sheet.
Yeah,
it's not really talked about
maybe
as much. If you're able to draw a penalty, get in someone's head, be in the right position to have them commit a penalty against you, and when you have a power play that's humming the way that the Mammoths is, and it has been on fire recently. When you have a power play like that, you want to put yourself in position to get fouled. You want to put your body on the line all the time because the chance of success if you go to the power play is so much greater than if you don't. And having that man advantage is so important for you. So Logan Cooley being able to do that and getting tripped up, getting that power play, getting that goal, in a game that really didn't end up being that close, but still the methodology of that is really important. So one of the kind of under talked about sort of aspects of the game.
Absolutely. And Logan Cooley does a phenomenal job of it, and again played a massive part of that win against Edmonton, and then he joined the station yesterday. So we appreciate the Mammoth organization for allowing not only Bear but Logan Cooley jumping on yesterday to talk about such an important moment for this franchise in such their early history. The Mammoth tonight back in action against the Carolina Hurricanes. What an incredible opportunity for them to come in front of the home fans and try to take on one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference and show that they can compete. I thought they did a phenomenal job on Tuesday, showing a phenomenal job of that they can compete against the Oilers. Now one of the teams that are in contention to potentially go on and win this Stanley Cup this year in the Carolina Hurricanes. 108 points on the season, plus 53 goal differential. It'll be a fun test, and I think Bear put it nicely in the last segment where this is a perfect measuring stick for them to see kind of where they're at heading into the playoffs. Yeah,
Carolina seems to be perennial contenders. They are, they've already clinched their division. They've clinched the Metropolitan, so they are the best team there. They are as good as advertised. Yeah, and for anyone who remembers the one of the games that sticks out to me, partly because I was here producing it. You know the one I'm talking about. Yes, the probably one of the hardest games to listen to, being engaged as a fan of the Mammoth. In Carolina, they're on I think it was 3 or 4 game road trip across the East Coast. They had played Florida, Tampa and Florida previously, and then they go into Carolina, and it is an intense game. It is super high energy. There's a lot of physicality. It ends up 4-4 late in the third period. I want to say there was 3 or 4 seconds left in the game. You're going to overtime. Carolina scores the go-ahead game-winning goal with barely any time left, and you could just feel the entire Mammoth Nation just cry out in a Charlie Brown, why did this have to happen? And so I think that is a taste that the Mammoth will want to kind of wash out of their mouths. They don't want to have to think about that anymore, and they want to take out this Carolina team, and again, like I said earlier, put the league on notice that they are for real. And what better way to do that than beating one of the top teams going into the playoffs, a perennial playoff contender that, could be, knock on wood, maybe a Stanley Cup preview. Who knows? Let's be optimistic here for a second. That would be incredible, but you got to get through them here first to get to the wild card one, to get to the Stanley Cup. Can't run before you walk.
Yeah, that was right before the Olympic break, late January, where the Mammoth were up 4-2 in the fourth period against the Hurricanes. And then, sorry to bring up old wounds, Mammoth fans, but the Mammoth didn't hold on to the lead in that one. And then, as Parker mentioned, with 30 seconds left, they scored the winner.
It was a tough day. It was a tough day, but I think that might have made them stronger. You never really know what makes a team stronger, but I'd like to think that game was so terrible. Like, that was such a that was a terrible feeling. Yeah. Coming out of that game, that they kind of internalized that and let that.
You're on the road. You're on a road trip. You're up 4-2 halfway through the third period, like on your way to beating the Hurricanes at their barn, and then you allow them to come back. Like, that is. I remember when that game happened. I was like, "Oof, that's bad. It's really bad."
It sits in my heart like a little scar. It was rough. It was a rough day, but hopefully that won't happen again. I mean, Carolina's here. They're in our barn. They got to contend with a really hot Mammoth team. I think it's going to be a really, really, really good game.
I agree. And the Mammoth, again, on a 5-game winning streak, looking to make it 6. When the Carolina Hurricanes are at Delta Center. That game today, you can catch the pregame here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up at 2 p.m., puck drops at 3 o'clock for the Utah Mammoth taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. We got to take a break, but coming up next, Technical Fouls, a segment where we highlight the sillier, funnier, or more dumb headlines of the week. And we'll talk NFL Draft. The draft is right around the corner. And then there was a statue that was to honor one of the legends of Major League Baseball that ended up taking a funny turn. We'll hit that next on Technical Fouls. It is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles and Parker Long taking you through this Saturday morning as we jump into Technical Fouls. This is a segment where we highlight the sillier stories of the week, and we'll start with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, the season is back. Hopefully your MLB team is doing well. If not, there's always next season. Parker, how are the Royals doing?
They're good. I think they're 6-8 right now. Shut out the White Sox last night. Still struggling with hitting. Unfortunately, it's kind of been a woe the last few years, but I think they'll get it together. They're not doing terrible.
There you go. I bring up Major League Baseball because there was the unveiling of Hall of Famer Ichiro Suzuki's statue yesterday at the Mariners Park, and they do a countdown. There's a drape over the statue, and everybody's counting down and getting ready to unveil the statue. And as they're pulling off the drape, so the statue has like Ichiro Suzuki like standing out, arm out. There's a bat that's coming up straight up from his hand, and so as they're unveiling the statue, there's videos of it on social media. I'm sorry, but everybody's seen them by now. But the drape that they had over the statue as they're pulling it off snaps the bat and ruins the statue.
I would say ruins takes that a little bit far. So the ESPN article, I think, actually does a good job of highlighting how Suzuki feels about this. And okay. I want to read from this really quick. This is a quote from Ichiro. And I think if anyone is allowed to have an opinion on his statue, it's him.
Right. It's his statue.
So he says, in the Hall of Fame, I was short 1 vote. Today, the bat was broke. It kind of lets me know that I'm still not there, that I still need to keep going. So this is a good example of that. And I really like that sort of that view on it.
Yeah.
Like it's a beautiful and kind of a perfect imperfection there, where like nothing's perfect. And like Ichiro himself was not perfect. He knows that. And like being accepting of, a blemish on the statue is, I think, a really, really good and cool way, kind of a not humanizing. Like he's very human. We know that.
Yeah.
He's a very cool dude. But like it kind of connects you to him a little bit more. It's like, oh, this dude's like pretty chill. He's pretty cool with this. He's not throwing a diva tantrum. This is great.
That's awesome. That is awesome to hear that he's also making light of the situation. He's also not, as you mentioned, not allowing it to ruin the moment. And that's awesome. And I don't think you would expect anything less from Ichiro Suzuki. If you watch the video, though, again, it is all over social media. So if you do watch the video, turn the volume up because you can hear this snapping noise as the bronze bat is broken off the statue.
So in this ESPN article as well, they show that, I guess, the Mariners have they updated the little mini commemorative statues to have a broken bat. So they had a little replica statue. So they just snapped the bat
that's
on
awesome.
it. And whether or not, I'm not sure, in the age of AI and whatnot, I'm not sure if this is exactly real. But it's a funny notion if it is true, because imagine you see that and it's like, oh man, the bat got broke, and then you look over and someone else has the same thing. It's like, hey, what happened? And then you see the statue out front. And it's like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty cool. This is fun.
That is funny. That is funny that they also added that to the little commemorative. What is it? Is that like a bobblehead?
Yeah, just like a little souvenir statue, I guess.
There you go. Can we stop making a big deal out of Fernando Mendoza not going to the NFL draft?
I never started, so I'm
not you specifically.
Yeah, no,
not you specifically.
No, I'm way ahead of the game on that one, though.
Obviously, if you haven't heard yet, the news broke earlier this week that Fernando Mendoza will not attend the NFL draft. He's going to stay in Miami, and because he wants to share the draft experience with his family, and I love that.
Yeah, it's great. Kid, and it's really in line with who that guy, shouldn't call him a kid, who that guy is.
Yes.
Like who we know him as. He's very family first, very family friendly. He just seems like a good, upstanding dude, and sharing like arguably the biggest moment of your life up to this point.
Yeah, man.
With your family who got you there, and he's been very vocal and like how his family has supported him through chasing his dream of playing professional football. Spend the night with your family. You're not going to get to see him nearly as much when you are the QB of the Vegas Raiders, unless they move out to Vegas, which they probably won't. So like spend the time with them and enjoy the moment. You got plenty of time to be on the biggest, brightest stage. Kudos to him.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely awesome that he's deciding to spend it with family in Miami, and stay with his family members during the draft. I don't see any issue with it, and I think a lot of people are making a mountain out of a molehill. Honestly, on social media with fans reacting to this, and I saw a lot of people going after Fernando Mendoza for not attending the NFL draft, which I think is silly. He is, as family is so embedded into like the Latino culture too, and as as somebody who grew up in that culture, like I understand where he's coming from, where family being so important and being bigger, family being bigger than the moment of the NFL draft. And I love that he's going to spend it with the people who helped him get to the position where he is, and I think the people that are online going after Fernando Mendoza are making a much bigger deal of it than it needs to be.
I don't think I've ever heard of that on the internet. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody being mean for no reason. I don't know if you're telling the truth here.
Maybe I'm just spending way too much time on Twitter.
Yeah, I think we can agree that almost any amount of time on there is too much time. But I mean, he's he's the first pick in the draft, like consensus, because of who is picking. If between the Raiders and the Jets, I think he'd be going number one regardless.
Yeah.
Let him do what he wants. He also he isn't the first, and he won't be the last to, like, Trayvon Walker, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett. They all didn't, and like in very recent memory, they all didn't attend the draft.
Yeah.
Did we probably made as big a stink about it, honestly, but is it warranted? I would say absolutely not. Let him enjoy his life. I will say I understand from a fan perspective why it is a little disappointing to not see him be there and walk out and, do the whole pomp and circumstance in the ceremony and, watch him, give a big bear hug to Roger Goodell, because he would, and get his jersey and be super excited in person. But
it's part of the TV spectacle that the NFL has made the draft.
Yeah.
It's made for TV, and people want to see the entertainment value in it and want to see Fernando Mendoza give the bear hug to the commissioner. But I would much rather see him, bear hugging his family on draft night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we got to take a break. One more game of the 2025-26 season for the Utah Jazz. Last night, they get the win over the Memphis Grizzlies. What does that mean for their lottery pick? What does that mean for their final game of the season? We'll break down the Jazz's win over the Memphis Grizzlies and more about the anti-taking draft lottery reform. That's all coming up next here on this Saturday show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, we go under 4 minutes with Bez not having a rebound. And there was Conchar to the window, triple-double. John Conchar with back-to-back triple-doubles. Three no good. Mbang, rebound, Mbang, triple-double. Jazz bench explodes. Bez goes coast to coast. Layup good. Technical foul on the Jazz bench for over-celebrating. Of course they are. It's the Bez Mbang triple-double night.
History made last night when the Jazz took down the Memphis Grizzlies. Welcome back to the Saturday show. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports on Alex Napoles and Parker Long, taking you through this wonderful Saturday morning. And let's hit on the Jazz. There's one more game left of this 2025-26 season for the Jazz. They do get the win over the Memphis Grizzlies, but obviously what sticks out last night, Bez Mbang and John Conchar became the first pair of teammates in NBA history to record triple-doubles off the bench in the same game. Not only that, you have three players with triple-doubles last night. Obviously, Bez Mbang, John Conchar for the Utah Jazz, and then you do have a Memphis Grizzlies player who also had a triple-double. And so it is kind of funny that for the longest time, the Jazz couldn't get a single triple-double and couldn't get any player to come up with a triple-double. Now, all of a sudden, you have Nurk, who goes, 3 games in a row with a triple-double? And then, obviously, last night, Bez Mbang and John Conchar making NBA history together.
Yeah, that's one of those weird trends in basketball where, like, you would think at some point during the, what was it, like 10 or 12 years between triple doubles that one would have happened. It wouldn't have been, and I forget who it was, but the first one that happened, and then JC's, Jordan Clarkson's, which I was at Delta Center for, which was awesome. It was super cool to see that. You would think somewhere in that period someone would have a triple double, but hey, you take them where you can get them. We got two last night in a game that ends up being mostly meaningless, but the history will always remember that happening. And now there's kind of a new standard, maybe not standard, but like a new kind of a high watermark for triple doubles that, future Jazzmen can aspire to.
Absolutely. You're right. You hit the nail on the head a little bit there with a game that is ultimately a little bit meaningless to the overall picture of the season for the Utah Jazz, except for the fact that it is the second to last game of the season. It was the final home game, and so the Jazz fans are rewarded with a win last night for, again, what people hope is the end of a rebuild, right? Is the end of this era of Utah Jazz basketball, where next season they can go on and push for the playoffs and see where this young core of players can take them. heading into next season, and so they're rewarded with a win last night against the Grizzlies for sticking with it these last couple of years.
And even better, the way the results fell, they didn't give up a spot in the draft lottery.
They did not. I know, Jazz fans, I know how much you wanted the loss. I know how much you wanted to I know how much you wanted to see this team lose to this Memphis Grizzlies team. And it probably would have worked out phenomenal for Jazz fans because Sacramento won against Golden State last night. Both now tied at 22 and 59. But if the Jazz would have lost, obviously the Jazz would have been at 21 and 60, and you would have been in a much better spot as far as making sure you have the fourth worst record in the NBA, which again would guarantee you your lottery pick. You wouldn't have to convey to Oklahoma City. Instead, though, you remain tied with that Sacramento at 22 and 59, which means with one game left of the NBA season for the Utah Jazz, right now it'll come down to a coin flip. There's no tiebreakers for who gets what position as far as where you land in the lottery odds. We're still down to the coin flip, Parker.
I'm shaking my head. You can't see it, but I'm shaking my head because I disapprove of that greatly.
Oh, yeah.
I think Jazz fans probably wanted the loss anyway. I don't think it would have ended up mattering because I believe Brooklyn lost. So they're at 20 and 61. You can't catch them.
No.
You can't.
No.
So you couldn't have moved up. Yes, you're right. It would have helped kind of secure your spot at the fourth. But ultimately, like the win was fun. The win was ultimately what we're trying to have with this Jazz basketball team, which was fun. They blew out Memphis.
Yeah.
David Locke, the play-by-play announcer for the Jazz, he mentioned last night during the call that basically what happened was both teams sort of ended up fielding G League teams.
Yes. Yeah.
The difference was that the Jazz had actual NBA talent on theirs with like Ace Bailey and Cody Williams. The Memphis did not.
Yeah.
You weren't going to win that game, so you weren't going to lose that game. Excuse me. You might as well have won that game by a ton, and just had a lot of fun with it. And it seemed like they had a lot of fun with it. Like Will Hardy was, interacting with the crowd.
Yes.
They were chanting for him to put Kevin Love in. He didn't. He didn't put Kevin Love in, but like they had those fun interactions. Cody Williams came and spoke. It was Fan Appreciation Night. Cody Williams came and spoke to the crowd before tip-off. It was just an awesome experience, and like to cap it off with a big historic win, I think is like the right thing to have happened instead of like, oh, another crushing loss for the Jazz. It marginally helps their draft odds, but nobody's having a great time. Like, where do you kind of like give up one thing to get the other?
Yeah. Heading into this game, the Memphis Grizzlies put out their injury report, and they had 12 players on there. They had 2 players that were doubtful/questionable. It ended up being 14 players out for the Memphis Grizzlies. That's over $128.2 million worth of salaries out for the Grizzlies. You look at the starting 5, you see, for the Jazz anyway, you see Cody Williams, you see Ace Bailey on there. Like, there is no way the Jazz aren't not going to win this game, And I'm glad that it turned into a history-making night. I'm glad that it turned into the guys going out there and having fun with it rather than let's do our best to lose this game. Because the reality is with the way that the Grizzlies showed up to this game, like there's no way you were not going to win that game.
Yeah, I think you would have had to just forfeit
yeah.
to not win that game. So yeah, just have fun with it. Do what you're doing. Do what you're kind of wanting to do, and like have fun playing a kids game, professionally. I think it just ended up being the right, not the right call to win. It's not like it's quite that easy, but the right move to try and win instead of trying your hardest to lose and make everybody miserable.
I did appreciate the outrage on social media about the Memphis Grizzlies injury report and about how many players they were sitting out versus this game against the Utah Jazz. because again, it goes back to what happened a couple months ago, where the Jazz get hit with this fine for winning a game in which they pulled their players. They ended up getting fined for that game against the Heat. Again, a game which they won, and then now you have the Memphis Grizzlies who have 14 players out, and of course Adam Silver's just going to let this one fly.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it means is that the Memphis Grizzlies obviously were tanking, so it's time to hit the Jazz with another fine. I mean, they won. They won a game in which at least one team was tanking, so obviously they need to be hit with another fine. Let's just take it up to a cool even million. Okay, Adam? Can I call you Adam? Mr. Silver?
I don't know if you're on that level yet.
Adam Silver's going to have to do a lot to earn my respect. He is not.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call him by his first name. Be a little disrespectful to him.
So the Jazz sitting at 22-59, the Sacramento Kings sitting at 22-59. Again, both tied heading into the final game of the NBA season. If both Sacramento and the Jazz lose, they'll be tied with the same record, and so it will come down to that coin flip to figure out which one's going to end up with the fourth, and which one's going to end up with the fifth, as far as the lottery odds go, which is super important because if you look at the pick odds, if the Jazz end up with in number 4, they have an 11.5% at the number 1. They'll have 2.4% to go down to 8, and they'll have 0. You can't go down to 9. And that's, of course, where you convey that pick. If they end up in 5th, you still have that 11.5 for number 1, but you have that 0.6% chance of conveying the pick with the number 9.
0.6 or 100?
Depending on which tinfoil hat you're wearing this morning.
Yeah.
So if the Jazz end up with that number 4, you hold on to that pick. You don't have to sweat it out probably as much come lottery night for the Utah Jazz. The NBA Board of Governors will meet on May 28 to vote on anti-tanking draft lottery reform. Right now, from the looks of it and what's being reported out there by Shams Charania of ESPN, is the 18-team lottery is the preferred method right now as far as the Board of Governors goes, where that the bottom 10 that missed the play-in and 8 that qualify, both 10 teams. Bottom 10 teams will have an 8% chance of moving up in the lottery. The other 8 teams will split 20% odds of moving up, and all 18 spots will be drawn as part of the lottery. That is the one that's gaining traction out there, and so May 28th will be the day that the changes will be made as far as the anti-tanking draft lottery reform goes. It's a good thing the Jazz won't be having to deal with this next season.
So I have thought about this a lot, and I have some in-depth analysis about this new proposal. There were a few of them, but this one that's kind of making the rounds. I have some in-depth analysis that I want to get to.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
That was good.
That is exactly how I feel.
That's good.
Billy Madison summed up how I feel about really the NBA lottery in general, but definitely these anti-tanking proposals. And I wanted to ask you about this. We were talking a little bit during the break about this. Do you feel like Adam Silver is trying too hard to control the way that basketball is being played within the NBA? Like the on-the-court product and the kind of the decisions that in my mind should be left up to the coaches, general managers, things like that. Is he trying too hard to kind of rein that in and make them do what he wants them to do?
It seems like he is, because on top of this anti-tanking draft lottery reform that will be voted on, there's also the floating out ideas of how to punish teams that are tanking, more severe punishments, like the commissioner giving the liberty to take away first-round picks. giving the commissioner more power to punish these teams who are in these situations rather than helping or making sure that your bad teams have an avenue to get better.
Yeah, that's...
And saying, hey, you give me the power to take away those draft picks, and I have and ultimately have more control in the NBA.
So, are we sure that Adam Silver isn't actually a Sith Lord?
Trying to actively mess up the game of basketball. Another thing, too, that's being floated out there, I guess there was a call with Adam Silver that happened earlier this week, too, where they floated out an idea of a 22-team lottery where the bottom 3 teams get 5% odds and the 4 to 6 bottom teams get 6% as an anti-tanking measurement. So essentially, the bottom 3, the worst teams in the NBA, have lower odds of getting the number 1 overall pick than a team who's in 4th to 10.
That is insane.
And apparently Adam Silver's like, yeah, I kind of like that idea.
I mean, I will say, to defend him for just a second, you don't want to dismiss any idea out of hand necessarily, because until you know kind of what the deeper ramifications are, you want to keep all ideas on the table. That said, that idea is stupid. That idea is moronic, and I don't like it, and I will tell you why. Simply because, so I want to do a comparison really quick between the NBA draft and the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. The NFL, in my mind, this is my opinion, is the be-all, end-all of good drafts. Where, yes, you do have some amount of tanking in the NFL. That's inevitable. If you reward teams for losing, teams that have no chance of competing are going to try and lose on purpose somehow, some way. You cannot stop that. It's impossible, because they will find a way to lose no matter what. So just having a draft where the worst team gets the first pick and then the second worst team gets the second worst pick, so on and so forth, or best pick, so on and so forth, works really well in its simplicity. I think the NBA draft with the lottery, the way it is currently constructed, I'm sure there's a way that a lottery could work. This is not it. Yeah. This is not the direction that you need to be going. You are overcomplicating things. And quite frankly, you are making it impossible for not only anyone to follow, but also just for anyone to care.
Yeah.
Like, if the Jazz were, let's say the Jazz are, 2 years behind in their rebuild. Let's say they started it a couple years ago. They still get punished for tanking this year, but they're still 2 years out from a rebuild. And then they need to tank to get a top player in this draft, but they get their first round pick taken away. Like, well, okay, so now they're just going to continue to be bad.
Yeah.
And you're going to allow teams like, I believe like Orlando, play-in teams. You're going to allow teams like the Warriors or the Trailblazers or the East, not Philly. I want to say it's Orlando, but one of the East play-in teams. You're going to allow the play-in teams and playoff teams to continue to be good by getting these, blue chip, instant contributor guys, and then forcing teams that are worse to go with guys that are worse. It makes absolutely no sense to me, and it makes getting into the NBA as like a relatively new fan, like getting into the association at large, basically impossible.
Yeah, it makes it difficult, especially again when you're not giving avenues for the teams who are genuinely struggling, the teams who are genuinely at the bottom of this of the league. You're not giving them the opportunity to get better.
Yeah, because free agency basically doesn't exist.
And I think that ultimately makes the product of the NBA, that downgrades the product of the NBA.
Yeah.
That downgrades the basketball. the lottery needs to be fixed. I just don't know if these proposals are it.
I would go out on a limb and say that they aren't.
Yeah.
Like I looked at all those, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but I know this when I see it. This is not the move. Like, you are overcomplicating things. You're making things too hard to understand and too hard to kind of maneuver around. Yep. If you are a losing team, if you want parity, which it seems like the NBA doesn't want it, like, just on the surface, it seems like they don't want parity. They want a few franchises to be really good for a long time. And that does not make for a good product over time. And it does not bring in new viewers, which the NBA has kind of been struggling with. So it seems like they are not, they're not taking the right avenues to fix their problems. They're just trying to do stuff to do stuff.
Yeah. Kennedy Chandler will not be with the Jazz for the final game of the season. His 10-day contract is up. The Jazz did make a signing for Hayden Gray from the Maine Celtics in the G League to come up and possibly play that final game tomorrow for the Utah Jazz. So we'll see if Hayden Gray is in the mix as the Jazz wrap up the season in Los Angeles. The final game for the Jazz of this season. Again, the Kings, too, in action. And they'll be taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. And so the 4th or 5th is on the line. We got to take a break here on the Saturday Show. Don't go anywhere. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles and Parker Long taking you through this wonderful Saturday. 5 minutes of. Still plenty to talk about. Not a lot of time left to do so. But this is going to be a transfer portal edition of 5 minutes of, because the college basketball transfer portal is open. And there's some major news coming down from Provo, from the BYU basketball men's program. Earlier in the week, key contributors, Robert Wright jumping into the portal, Kennard Davis, who at times had a really good season for the Cougs, jumping into the portal, Xavier Stanton in, Dominique Diamande in, Tyler Marusin, KJ Perry, all entering the transfer portal for BYU hoops. And I saw a lot of reaction online with all these guys jumping into the portal and concerns about stuff happening down there in Provo. But I don't think BYU fans have any reason for concern yet.
No, I would agree. If only because I think Kevin Young is a heck of a basketball coach. I don't think you have to worry about that. I think his spot is safe. I think it's just a byproduct of, the current college atmosphere. Like,
exactly.
Still the kind of unfettered transfer portal. You can kind of go anywhere at any time. They are, work is being done to restrict that, but at the moment there is a lot of freedom to move about. And so these guys are taking advantage of that. I really have no issue with that. Go where you feel like you can thrive. If you didn't feel like that was BYU, then like best of luck to all these guys. I feel bad for the front office or the equivalent in Provo for having to build an entirely new roster.
Yeah, that part is, I think, the hard part of it, but ultimately it can be a good thing, because what was, aside from the injuries, what was one of the big conversation points that everybody talked about what held this BYU team back, and it was roster construction. And so now with the transfer portal open and maybe some of these guys leaving, maybe it allows you the opportunity to surround some great talent against somebody like Bruce Branch, who's coming in this next season, Dean Ruckert from Timfy, who's coming in this next season. Surround talent around them, have a little bit more depth, so that way, if you do find yourself in a situation where key guys and key contributors are getting injured and are being rolled out for the remainder of the season, or whatever the case may be, you have the better depth in order to compete in the Big 12. That was, I think, something that I think a lot of fans can agree that held back BYU a lot this season was the lack of depth, and the lack of depth stepping up for BYU in key moments.
Yeah, you had a great top end. AJ DeBansa, he's going to be possibly the number one pick in the NBA draft. Like he is,
should be.
He is that caliber of player. Whether or not a team chooses him first, kind of isn't necessarily reflective of how great a talent he is. Then you had, Rob Wright and Reggie Saunders. That was your big three. After that, it was a fairly steep fall off. No. And guys just for one reason or another were not able to step up. The depth just wasn't there. And I think what this allows BYU to do is to sort of reassess the monetary value of certain players coming in and kind of redistribute assets maybe a little more evenly, where maybe you aren't paying, three guys so much money.
Right.
You aren't getting, they're not getting DeBonsa money, but, maybe lower that and flatten it out a little bit so that you have, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that can all come in and contribute, are all good talents and can help you win a national championship, can help push you over that edge that you just haven't been able to push over so far.
I don't remember the exact number it was, but at some point during the season, I'd come across this stat where the bench scoring for BYU was 138th in the country compared to where it was last season. That's a massive fall off.
Yeah, and I think that's a stat that will be reflective of your ability to make it far in the thing that matters in the NCAA tournament. That's what everybody's shooting for, and you need some kind of depth. Even if teams that ended up going far in there didn't utilize their depth to the fullest, they had it. And so that is really what you need, if for no other reason than to have guys step up in the wake of a possible injury. You need that in case something happens to a guy like Richie Saunders again. You can't have that happen and then have that steep fall off. You can't, because then you will end up at the same place you were before. And I don't know if I've ever told you the definition of insanity, but it is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results.
Right.
So that seems to be the spot that BYU is in at the moment. Best of luck to their squad reconstructing their team. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of who they bring in and what these guys can be, what this team can really try and manifest come next season.
And the reason I say that's no need for concern yet for BYU fans is because the transfer portal is open, and I think BYU have more than enough resources to be able to bring in guys who can replenish the roster and can hopefully, again, make BYU be competitive in the Big 12. One of them has already announced that he is, quote, coming home, and that is the Farmington native Colin Chandler, who this morning put out on Instagram that he has committed to BYU. As soon as he entered into the transfer portal, I think everybody felt that he was on his way to BYU, and now it is official, and so Colin Chandler becomes the former Kentucky man, is now coming in from the transfer portal. And it's guys like that who can come in and help BYU from where they were last season. It's guys like that who can come in and, again, make this BYU team competitive, even without AJ DeBonsa, even without Rob Wright, right? Rob Wright's in the portal. There, he can still come back if he chooses to. I don't. We'll see what that situation turns into, but it's guys like that who can come in from the transfer portal and can make a difference next season for BYU heading into what they hope can be a better run that they had than this past year.
Yeah, I think the potential is definitely going to be there, and with Bruce Branch coming in, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if he is quite as highly touted as AJ was coming to BYU, but if he's 75% of what AJ is, he's already a star. So
Absolutely.
you've got a great start. We'll see kind of how the transfer portal develops. As you said, Rob Wright could come back. They could put a little carrot out and see, or put a little bait out, see if he comes back, and maybe they sweeten the pot.
And that's just one of the things that's difficult right now with the transfer portal. Is just one of the things that's wrong with the transfer portal right now is the fact that it's a free for all. Anybody can jump in whenever. Anybody can or not whenever, right? But when the period's open. But anybody can jump in and go wherever they want. It's, I think, the reason why we're seeing the mid-majors struggle in the NCAA tournament now. Big shouts to Utah State for being the deepest mid-major this year, but it's why we're seeing the tournament end up being so chalky, is because any guy who's at the mid-major level any guy who even is on a Power 5 or Power 4, Power 5, whatever you want to call it, like BYU, who maybe didn't have the season he wanted, didn't necessarily have the opportunities that he wanted, he can jump into the portal whenever, and it's just it's a free-for-all, man. Anybody can go wherever they want at any time.
You follow the money, and like these big schools are going to have the most money. You look at Michigan, you look at Florida, you look at all the teams that made it to the Final Four. What do they have in common? Tons and tons and tons of money.
Yeah.
BYU, not short on cash. I think we can both agree that is true. But they may not have quite the level of resources that a Michigan or a Florida or a Houston or whatever has. So it's a weird, interesting balancing act that you got to try and pull off. And like, if you're BYU, you're trying to pull in the best talent you can. Now you've had a pretty good last couple of years with Yegor Demon coming in and succeeding as one of the better players on an admittedly bad Brooklyn Nets team, but like everybody knew they were going to be bad this year because they are still in the middle of tanking. And then AJ, like we said, is worthy of the first overall pick in the NBA draft. So you've had a couple of years of success. So that kind of brings, I think that also helps bring guys. It's like, oh, hey, if I go here, I could be like a lottery pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be very tantalizing to a lot of guys.
It feels like this is such a vital offseason for Kevin Young and that staff down there in Provo, because there was so many expectations. There was Elite Eight aspirations for BYU. Obviously, they fell short of those expectations. Obviously, they fell short of those aspirations. But, again, it's such an important offseason because Kevin Young now has the opportunity to continue to build off that trend of the success that we've seen BYU have the last couple of years. And so, Gary, I'm curious to see what Kevin Young brings in through the portal. I think he's already picked up a really, really solid player, a diamond, if you will, in Colin Chandler. And he'll be playing for BYU. So we'll see. Utah State they picked up a big guy from UNI, somebody following Ben Jacobson, but I think more so importantly, Carson Templin, who was in the portal, has decided to return to Utah State. He is re-signed, as they put out earlier this, or I think it was a week ago today, literally as soon as we jumped off air. Carson Templin.
Of course.
Yeah. Carson Templin it's out there that he's returning to Logan. He's sticking around. But the even bigger one, Mason Falslev, re-signed at Utah State. He's sticking around. And so even more so than bringing in guys through the portal, even more so than building a roster and building a squad through guys who are in the transfer portal, you hold on to two key pieces of the culture up there in Logan and Mason Falslev and Carson Templin. Ben Jacobson is off to a hot start up there in Logan with retention.
And I think that is definitely the most important thing for Utah State. And if you're any kind of mid-major program like that, where you've seen some success in the NCAA tournament, you've got a little higher profile, you're not UNI, you're kind of like mid-major programs and lower are playing a very different game than, major Power 4 programs, where they have the limitations of not only money, but reputation, where they don't have as much pull. So keeping the guys that they have that are good and fit in well with the culture, fit in well schematically. Now, I'm not sure what will change between Jared Calhoun and Ben Jacobson schematically.
Yeah.
But I trust that Mason Falslev and Carson Templin are good enough players to make that transition, whatever it might be. They are two really big key keeps for Utah State because they also just mean so much to the team, to the university, like to that program, that it keeps fans engaged. If if you're flipping over the team year in and year out like you are head coaches because they do so well, it is harder as a fan to be engaged with the team because your favorite players are gone. Mason Falslev, if he's your favorite player for Utah State, he's still there. You're doing cartwheels right now.
Yes,
because he's coming back, and you can wear your Mason Falslev jersey if you got it, and you can You can scream as loud as you want up at the Spectrum, which they love. They love to have you do. It's going to be great for every part of this. So keeping those guys super, super, super important.
I think if you're able, so obviously Carson Templin jumps into the portal, but then a couple days later, it is announced that he is returning. There are some fabulous freshmen in the transfer portal right now for Utah State. And Adeline Elamine and Elijah Perriman, who were expected to enter the transfer portal. If you're able to get those guys to commit to come back, I think Utah State, Ben Jacobson, are in an even more phenomenal spot than they already are with just the return of Mason Falsliven and Carson Templin. So that's probably next on the to-do list. Figure out a way to get Elijah Perriman and Adeline Elamine to stick around in Logan.
Oh, definitely.
1,000%.
They were really good this year. Definitely like kind of rough around the edges, being freshmen. But you get them a full off season. Like you expect that. You get them a full off season. You get them integrated into the new system. They're still around. They like the day-to-day operations of like how they live their lives, like their routines and everything, don't have to change. So that's one easy thing to kind of get them going and like hit the ground running on the actual basketball part of it. So yeah, keep those guys. Like they were really excellent. They got a lot of potential. And like Utah State hung around with that team hung around with Arizona better than anybody. Like one of the best teams in the country. Yeah. What did they lose by, like 3?
No, it was a little. They ended
6?
They ended up pulling away a little bit there at the very, very end, but I think it was a 4-point game with about 4 minutes left.
Yeah, it was close, and it was a lot closer than anybody thought. So if you're able to keep that obviously very talented and, core with good chemistry and everything, do that. That's your priority right there, because you're not going to get the huge names. You see what works, use that.
Absolutely.
If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke,
if you can help
not
it,
fix it.
Not everything is in your power there, but do everything you can in your power to make that happen.
Absolutely. We got to take a break. We'll wrap it up on the other side. We'll take you through today's schedule and get you ready for another Saturday here on the KSL Sports Zone. That and more coming up next here on the Saturday Show. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles and Parker Long. Parker filling in again for Christian Esparza, who's on his baby sabbatical, enjoying some time off with the family. Again, we love Christian, man. What an awesome dude, and for him to bring in life into the world, and for him now to be just chilling with his family, man. Love it for him. And but we miss him. I miss him.
I miss him too.
Yeah, it's quiet around here without him. But Parker's doing a phenomenal job filling in, man.
Oh, thank you. I'm blushing back here. You can't see, but I am.
Rory McIlroy. Hey, it's Masters weekend, and Rory leads by 6 shots. He set a 36-hole Masters record yesterday with 6 birdies over his final 7 holes for a 7-under 65 that left everybody in shock. JJ was in shock yesterday after it happened, and Rory doing a fun. Give him his green jacket. He's coming back for it. He wants it. It is so. If you're watching the Masters weekend, enjoy it. Enjoy some golf this weekend, and let's have some fun with it. Parker, today's schedule looks like this: the Utah Mammoth taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Pregame comes up at 2 p.m. on 97.5. And then you can catch the Salt Lake Bees at the Reno Aces. Pregame coming up at 4:50 p.m. And you can catch that on our 1280 signal. Parker, anything else you want to add before we wrap this one up, man?
Well, first, I'm going to be producing the Mammoth game. So let's hope it's an exciting one. A nice win at home over Carolina. And, just nail down that wild card 1 spot. I also did want to say my plans for Monday, in case anyone was interested, I'm going to be watching the WNBA draft.
Hey, there you go.
That happens at 7 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Watch it. It's going to be awesome.
There you go.
I'm super stoked for the W.
The Jazz and the Lakers. Again, that is the final game of the Jazz for this NBA season. That is also coming up tomorrow here on the station. You can catch pregame starting up at 5:30 p.m. tip-off between the Jazz and the Lakers at 6:30. And for those of you who have, of course, the interest in the Jazz and where they're going to end up with the lottery, the Kings and the Blazers tip-off at the same time, 6:30. So keep an eye on that game and see where the Jazz land. If they end up with a tie, it'll come down to that coin flip, man. And then after that, the NBA, it's a wrap on the NBA season. It's going to be a wrap here on the Saturday show, too. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for making us a part of your Saturday. Don't forget to download the KSL Sports app so you can take us anywhere you go. And don't forget to tune in all week long to listen to DJ and PK, listen to Jake and Ben, listen to Scotty and Friends, and then, of course, listen to JJ and Alex as we recap the weekend of sports. This is the Saturday show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.